Episode 3 of What If asks the viewer to imagine a world where Tony Stark never left that donut shop where he met Nick Fury and Black Widow, causing him unable to utter those famous words.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
It asks, what would happen if Thor never had a chance to become worthy after being banished to Earth from Asgard and become one of Earth's mightiest heroes? It's asking, what if that Ant-Man meme actually kind of sort of happened? What if it's asking, what if the Avengers were never able to form, and what the ramifications of that would be?
Let's start off with the good. What I really loved about this episode was the nostalgia aspect of it. This is showing the Avengers before they form into the Avengers, that phase 1 of Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Nick Fury, Iron Man. We get to see the characters act in their, the ways we remember them from those first couple movies, and seeing them from a fresh perspective, because instead of Iron Man or one of the other Avengers being the main character, Nick Fury is the main character here, and he's approaching each of the Avengers like he did in the movies before, but instead of it being all separated, we're seeing it in one take, which is really good. And it reminds you that all these movies, or at least all the movies for like that in that first phase, happen simultaneously, which makes it interesting. There's always that asking question of like, wait, if this is going on over here, why didn't Iron Man help, or why didn't the Hulk not help, or why did Hawkeye stand by? It's like they all were dealing with different things at the same time. So it was cool to see that put into perspective, and it was really cool to see Nick Fury in action. I think Samuel Jackson does a great job as Nick Fury, but we don't really get to see him do a lot of fighting or get himself into the action. And obviously, because Samuel Jackson's an older dude, he's not going to be out here trying to put up hands in a movie, but because this is animated, they're able to do whatever. So it was really cool seeing that. Another thing I like about this episode, there was a villain in this episode that I did not expect. This whole episode is kind of a mystery, a whodunit, mixed with some classic stories that we've seen in the Marvel comics and even DC comics, like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, if you ever read that or heard of that, where Deadpool goes crazy and he starts picking off different Marvel characters one by one. And also, if you ever seen the animated movie Justice League Doom, and it's based off a comic I think called Justice League Tower of Babel, where villains find out ways to take out the Justice League members because Batman created them and that information got out. It's a similar story to that, but it's affecting the formation of the Avengers. Like I was saying in the intro, it's asking what are those ramifications of if the Avengers never got to form because someone systematically took them out. It was really interesting. It kept me on my edge of my seat trying to figure out what was going on, who was doing it. Had a couple guesses, but the person who it was, I definitely didn't see coming. So that was really interesting. And the episode, because it was so short, was paced really well. There was no moment where I was really super bored, and it kept jumping through different perspectives because it was split between Nick Fury and Black Widow, trying to figure out what is going on and who's taking out the people that he wants to bring into the Avengers Initiative before he can fully bring them together. And I gotta say, the animation for What If is starting to grow on me. I thought that I was hoping that each episode was gonna have something different, but this cell shaded animation that they have that's kind of fluid, kind of make it like it's kind of live action, is definitely growing on me, and it definitely worked really well in this particular episode because each character felt like the character that they were supposed to be. And even though not all the voice casts didn't come back, and obviously one of the main standouts that didn't come back was Scarlett Johansson for Natasha Romanoff. The person that did voice it sounded so much like her that it wasn't that you didn't notice it that much. So it didn't kill the immersion that much, but I did notice a little bit, like I was like, that's not Scarlett Johansson. But after a while, it was just like, she sounds so much like her, it doesn't matter. But the voice cast is great. The people who come back is great. They do a great job of filling that gap. So I really appreciated the action, everything that was going on in the animation and the voice act. And as much as I love those stories, like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe and Justice League Doom and stories like that, where it's like an alternate timeline where people are getting picked off and you see the weaknesses of each character, there is a big but. And that's where the bad comes in. I think the villain of this episode will be a hit or miss depending on how much you like the comics. The character that is the villain has been in the MCU, but it's a character that's very, very minor. So if you're not a fan of the comics and like the source material they pulled this from, it might not hit as hard as if you knew this character from the comics, because he's not as important in the MCU. I loved it. I thought it was dope as hell. I think the enjoyment of this episode will be depending on how casual a fan you are of the MCU and how casual a fan you are of the comics. If you're a hardcore MCU fan, if you're a hardcore fan of the comics, you definitely will enjoy the twist that they did here with one of the characters that becomes the villain. If you are somebody that picks and chooses which movies you watch, then you might not even really know this character that much. So the impact of why this character is doing what they're doing and who they are may not hit you as much. And also, I gotta say that in terms of impact, another thing that was kind of not that great was the ending. It was kind of anticlimactic. It felt like it was building up to this big thing, but because this episode is like only 33 minutes, it kind of had to rush into it. And the ending was pretty cool. Like I said, it's the ramifications of if the Avengers never form, and it's a really big ramifications, and the way they connected it and did it with like the things that were happening in the storyline in Avengers 1 was really, really unique, and I really liked it. Let's talk about my verdict. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought that it was very entertaining. Like I said before, I think the good outweighs the bad. I just think the episode is just too short to make it great. It was just good. So I'm going to give this episode a C+. So that was my review of episode 3 of What If. In the comments below, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to check out more of my videos when they come out, and you can watch more right now.